And we are live. There we are. Go ahead and work on your little doohickey and share it.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll get started. Look, I'm going to go ahead and share it now, too. Bam. I'm done. This was a race. I win.
You're a show. You're a show off.
Look at me. Look at me. Oh, boy. Anyways. Yeah,
That's
I'm
not what
ready
I
when you are.
wanted. I did it wrong. Hold on.
Oh, my gosh. And I'm out of practice, too. It's been what, at least a week since we did a show? Feels like it's been forever. All right.
In a week. Oh
Whenever
no,
you're
it
ready.
was exactly a week.
Was it?
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I
Ready?
did it.
All right. I'm going to run the intro, and we should
Yeah.
do the thing.
All right.
Shut up and sit down.
Boom. And no, that was not a shooting. Everybody relax. I just felt like I needed to say that. It's a bit antagonistic.
You probably
I know.
did.
I know. Anyways, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Dope and Dharma. This is, of course, the Dharma Time edition. And as always, he is the Dope Doctor, and I am the Dharma Guy. It's been a little while since we've chatted for a while, I guess, right? And we haven't done a Dharma Time, and I don't even know how long. And it's not even Tuesday. Right now, it's Friday. So we're gonna do a double show, I believe,
That's
today.
right.
So for those of you watching live, make sure you watch this one, and then afterwards we're gonna come right back on and do a We the Middle because we're like that. We're just we're crazy like that. We don't need no stinking rules.
You got
Anyways,
stuff to say.
exactly.
None.
Well, for those of you who are listening live, or even taped, I guess, welcome. It's been a while. I've been sick with the plague. My wife and I have contracted COVID.
Monkeypox.
Yeah. I'm
Monkeypox.
still, as of like yesterday, my wife is still positive. As of the day before, I'm still positive. So I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna have this for the rest of my life. I think I'm just done. Like, this is ridiculous, man. I tested positive on the 9th, I think, and it is now the 22nd. Like, what is going on here, man? Like, I don't understand.
Look, on the positive end, you got the same strain that our president got, so that's pretty impressive.
That's Mr. President to you. Yeah, I didn't know that apparently our president and I have it in common. Not only do we have COVID, but he actually has AFib too. So look at that. I'm basically the president.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
wow.
Yes.
Wow. No, Richard on look, there's a comment from Richard Coleman on
Is
Facebook
this
Live.
We the
He
Middle?
says, "Is
No,
this We the Middle?" No,
this
we're gonna
is,
do Dharma Time first, then we're gonna go off for like. No.
Yeah. We're gonna cover today in Dharma Time our topic.
I must have been talking while we were in delay.
Our delay, yeah. No, Richard. Today's we're gonna start with Dharma Time. A buddy of mine actually asked a really poignant question about work-life balance during some times of inflation and whatnot. So we're gonna cover that, and then we'll do a We the Middle afterwards. So by all means, stay tuned to both or whichever you prefer. But anyways, before we get started with that, let me just remind everybody, by all means, thank you so much for tuning in. You can watch us live and comment back and forth and participate in the discussion through Facebook Live, and that's at facebook.com/WPSN99. Or you can just look up Dope and Dharma, although it's going to give you all those hurdles to jump through, ask if you really want to watch us. And then you can look up Dope and Dharma on YouTube, and you can also look up Dope and Dharma on Twitch. You can watch us live. And then Richard just asked, okay, so am hour till we the middle. Roughly about an hour, give or take. So, anyways, yeah, man. So I had a buddy of mine. He's an officer up in New York, and the dude's constantly working, man.
Mhm.
He's like, and he's living a life. I guess he's making some money. He's doing his thing. He does a lot of overtime, and he enjoys the money. I think at first he was doing it because he's enjoying the money, but it seems like lately with inflation and gas prices and everything else, he feels almost compelled to work. Which means
Right.
I don't hear from him as much, whatever. I think it affects his relationship. I'm assuming. I can't, as a married man, I can't imagine how it doesn't. but then so I guess he's just curious as to like, is this an issue or how do I know it's an issue? If it is, how do I fix it? That kind of stuff. And it got me to thinking, there's no way he's alone, right? I mean, I think we're all feeling for the most part, unless you're like uber rich, and even then, I'm sure you have your own cross to bear. But for those of us who aren't uber rich, I think everybody's feeling like I know I have, man. When like my chicken went up from like 10, $12 for a pack to like 30 something. When my gas went up from like less than $4 to like almost five. Like, I felt that, man. And the biggest one I felt, if I'm honest with you, excuse me, the biggest one I felt for
Yeah.
me personally, my household, my mortgage, dude. My mortgage went up like $200-300, like just out of nowhere because my insurance here in the state of Florida apparently
Yeah, mine too.
went up. And that caused my escrow to go up, which then caused my mortgage to go up. That hurt, man. Like I didn't see that one coming. I was like, whoa, what? Like, so in like a couple months'
Yeah.
time, my gas prices, because I have a large truck, went up. All my food prices went up. My mortgage, like, so everything like literally went up in like a couple months' time to the point where it was just like, whoa. Like
Yeah.
we actually had to like take a step back and look at things. And so I know I'm not
Yeah.
the only one. There's got to be many people who are experiencing that same kind of situation. And so I think everybody handles it differently. I think that my buddy is not the only one though who looks at that situation and says, "Well, all right, I gotta go work more. I gotta go work more to keep up with it." And while that solves the immediate issue of your funds, going down, it can create another issue of feels like all I do is work now. Feels like, I don't have time for my friend, my family, my loved ones. I don't have time for my leisure activities, my hobbies, the things that keep me sane. Um, so
No.
yeah, I guess we should talk about that because I think that that's a hard
Yeah.
one, right? Like on one hand, you have to just to maintain your living status, you have to work more to generate more since everything's more expensive. But on the flip side of that, if you can't do all the fun stuff that brings you the inner peace and happiness, then what's the whole point, right? Like I think that's the debate.
Right. So is that why I was up at 5 o'clock this morning so I can go speak at that conference at 8 a.m. this morning?
No, you were up at 5 o'clock because you're just, you're a
Is this what
celebrity,
we're
man. Everybody
talking
wants a
about?
piece. Everybody wants a piece of Louis.
Is that yeah, right. Look, before I speak on that, look, you said the guy that you asked this question for is law enforcement. Look at this nice thing I got from the Honolulu
Oh,
Police
right on,
Department.
right on.
Got a
Very cool.
patch. I got a patch.
Nice.
And then the
Are
local
you gonna-
guys, they gave me this.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh,
We should get you like a little
I
sash.
still don't have a
and
real
you can just
badge.
you
I
can put
still
all your
want
patches on.
I want a real badge. I'm still waiting for that real
Dude,
badge.
you've been asking for an actual
So,
badge for years.
Yeah, remember Sheriff
Right,
Mina gave me that other one, but it's not. He said I can't use it. It's not official.
right,
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's hard to find balance right now, people. I mean, it just is. I mean, this is one of those times where um, it's not like we haven't been through this before. Some of you may not have been through this before if you're young, but if you're older, definitely if you're my age, I'm 52. You've been through this before. Once when we were young, real young, little kids, it was worse. And then back in 2007 when the housing market went nuts, that was pretty bad. When so many people lost their homes. Do I think it's that? No, I don't think it's there. What happened in 2007? I hope not. That's the only part that I hope doesn't happen the way it was in 2007, where every home was for sale and nobody was buying because nobody could.
right.
I hope they figure it out. This is tough, but so the question was, how do you balance it, right? How do you balance it? Well, I don't think I don't think anyone has the short answer. I mean, you got to figure out for yourself. I think what provides you peace, what provides you calm, what provides you a sense of rest. Some people rest through activity, and some people rest through rest. So what is restful to me may not be restful to you. What
Right.
is re-energizing to me may not be re-energizing to you, but it's important to still be doing that kind of deal. Now, if you're talking about mentally, and I think we are talking more mentally, because so many of us just operate on very little hours sleep and lack of mobility anyway. um, I think you just have to be in the right mindset that this is temporary. To be honest with you, this is not going to stay like this. It never does. And I don't think this one's going to last long. It has every feel and every vibe and any energy like either side is about to take control of it. And when I say either side, I mean politically. I think that because this one is not created by something both can blame equally, like the housing market or because the banks or those evil mortgage companies. This one seems to be easy to pinpoint politically either way. Both sides are going to be motivated to help it out. Now, the Democrats are going to want it out very soon, within the next year or so. And the Republicans are going to not let it go past year 2 and 3. Um, so remember, months go by very fast. I don't know about you, Trinity, but doesn't it feel like we just had a New Year's like not too long ago? I mean, we're already in mid January. I mean, mid July. See, I still think it's January. July.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the best one to
I mean,
ask at the
it's just
moment.
fast.
Like every day feels like an eternity for me at the moment. I got to be honest, man. Like I didn't feel the initial COVID stay at home stuff. Like I was thriving, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
But for the last like week or two, it's been pretty rough, man. I've been in cabin fever. Like every day feels like a slog. Marissa commented earlier about
Yeah.
my wife actually scared her last night because she's never on Facebook and she was posting last night.
Yeah.
So my wife is
Right.
feeling it. Like she's bored. My wife was running around like I'm losing her
Right.
mind. So um, it does feel it all feels different for me right now. It feels like every day is an eternity.
Right.
And then um, the financial stuff to me feels a little bit different. Maybe because when the housing bubble thing happened, I already had a house and I was already like in that situation where I was good. So I didn't feel the housing market change at all. So this is the first time that I'm actually feeling it. Like the gas prices are pretty rough. I mean, I felt the gas prices a little bit. I don't remember how long ago it was, but gas was like $5 or something. It was up there. It was pretty high. So I've gone through that before. Although this feels like it's lasting longer than it did.
Hmm.
But the mortgage going up and the food going up
Yeah, there were a
are
couple
definitely
summers ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
The food and the
No, there were
mortgage
a
going up
couple
are
summers
definitely
ago where the gas prices were this high.
um yeah, that's what I'm saying. I remember the gas. Um but it feels like this one's lasting longer, but maybe I'm
Mhm.
wrong. Sorry, I just had to let my dog out.
Mhm.
He he heard a noise.
No problem.
But anyways, yeah, I'm glad you highlighted that comment. So Richard said you find balance by handling your finances so that it in times of economic hardship you could be prepared. And then he followed that up with live on less than what you earn, have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, pay cash for everything instead of sliding a card, use coupons, negotiate for larger purchases, and avoid debt at all costs. um, it's all sound financial advice. Having said that, I know many people who just can't follow that advice for various reasons. Things do come up, things arise. That's part of being,
Yeah.
you know, part of being alive, man. Just stuff is going to happen. And so I think you can feel compelled to, go back to work or do odd jobs or do whatever you can to go into like a crisis mode, I guess. But I agree with you earlier. The mental part, I think, is extremely important because I agree with you in the sense that the financial stuff it comes and goes. I've had times in my life where I've had a ton, and I've had times in my life where I've had like nothing. And it usually ebbs and flows and goes back and forth. That's just the life that I was blessed with. Um,
Right.
but the main thing for me is the mental part. Like I I, I do approach it as in this is temporary. It's just another thing to adapt to. I think the biggest part is remembering that everybody is stressed. And so try not to take that out on your loved ones, right? Like to remember your loved ones are stressed as well. And you're stressed. And so you're going to handle things differently. And I think that to me is the biggest one. Finances, everybody's in a different financial position. Everybody has different financial literacy and availability. So that one's a little bit more difficult, I think. It's not as universal. But what I do think is universal is just still remembering to be kind, to yourself and those around you. Um, like or like my
Hmm.
wife right now, she's just not feeling well. Not a one of us are doing well right now. The COVID thing really sucks. And so I'm just trying to be as patient as I can be when she'll be a little bit aggressive, maybe, or I'm a little aggressive. Like,
Right.
we're just trying to remember, man, that like, this is a rough spot, and I think that it's very easy
Right.
to get caught up in your stuff, like just your things that are your worries and your stresses. It's so easy to get caught up on that and take it out on the people around you, or maybe be hypersensitive to the things that people say around you. Like, and I think you got to be aware of that. I think you got to,
Hmm.
be honest with yourself. Hey, I'm feeling a little stressed out right now. Hey, I'm feeling a little aggressive right now, or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And so, like, for instance, if you're having a trouble with your work life balance, you know, as I said at the top of the show, I could very easily see how that could strain a relationship. And if you're gone constantly working all the
For
time,
sure.
then you could totally feel like, this sucks. All I do is work and sleep. Like, it's getting on my nerves. And then if your loved one is maybe you're a little bit hypersensitive to something your loved one may say or do, because then you're gonna get upset. You're like, dude, I'm over here trying to work, to put food on the table. Why are you, harassing me like this, or whatever it is? And then the other one can feel like left out, lonely. Like, hey, man, I don't see you anymore. Like, this isn't worth it any. So in those situations, it's very easy to get caught up in all the hype and just be mean to each other. And I think that that's a very slippery slope. I think
Hmm.
that it's very easy to fall into that and have it escalate. But on the flip side of that, it's very easy to come out of as well. Like, that's to me, the shining light is,
Right.
every new moment, every new day is an opportunity to be like, look, man, I'm sorry. Like, I'm feeling stressed out right now. I apologize. So, like, no matter how stressful it is, you can actually make it better right now. And so I think that that's an important one. I really do.
Right. Yeah, I think and I see Richard Coleman and Marissa Molesky are both on Facebook Live, and they're sharing their views and opinions. Um, and that's important, and that's why we want you guys to be part of this. If you're watching live, I mean, feel free to join in. Um, and the way it's left off right there, that comment you just saw is he's asking, why do you believe your income is fixed? And I think by fixed, I mean, a lot of people have fixed incomes, right? Unless they get
Yeah.
a raise, unless they change jobs, unless the government's willing to increase the amount of money they pay you if you're receiving any income from the government due to a disability or due
Well, my
to
mother,
being in
she's retired.
retirement or something like that, or Social Security. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So when you have a certain amount of income coming in and it's not going up at the same percentage that everything else is going up, I mean, and it's everything, like you said. I mean, we've talked about it on multiple shows and other types of shows. If your landscaper, like my landscaper increased to 20%, but then some of the foods out there are 10%. Then other foods are like 30% increase, and so everything
Yeah.
has a different percentage. So it's not even a consistent number all the way across the board. It just depends on who's getting hosed, and then at the end of the day, we as consumers get hosed.
Yep.
And nobody's doing it to us maliciously. Everybody's just trying to survive. I don't blame the businesses for trying to stay alive. Um, and remember, people that own businesses are consumers as well. At the end of the day, we're all consumers. There's nobody that's outside the realm of being a consumer. Some of us just have more risk, have more money out, laid out,
Yeah.
take more risk that things are going to be good, and sometimes it's not good. And so these are the times where you just got to buckle down and wait it out. For instance, if you have gold and silver and you're trying to sell it now, it's probably not the time. If you have stocks and you're trying to sell it right now or retire right now, it's probably not the time. Definitely if you have crypto right now, it's not the time. I mean, these are times where this is a holding pattern.
Yeah.
um, and you just got to wait it out, and we will be fine. And I think again, the work-life balance and the peace has to come from within. Just know that, look, I just got to get through this. I might have to buckle down just a little bit more. I might have to eat just a little bit differently, maybe play just a little bit differently, but it will be fixed. This is globally thing. This is happening. This is not
Right.
a United States thing. And again, remember, COVID was 2 years ago, and the entire world is still recuperating from that. And so, are there remnants of that? Yes. Is it only because of that? No. Are there issues throughout the country or throughout the world They cause us issues. Yes. Is it just because of those individual issues? No. So I think what happens in times like this is that those that are able to get through it, because like what Richard said, if he had the ability and was doing really well and was able to put money away, hopefully he can get through it. But Richard has employees, Richard on here, he has employees. He knows what they're experiencing and what's going on with them. His employees may not have been as able to stock that money away.
Hey,
But
Richard's last comment was there are jobs that, because Marissa gave a
mhm.
scenario that she was living through, which you and I both actually know somebody else who had that exact scenario. And his response was there are
Mhm.
jobs that you could do for cash and not report the income. Richard, are you advising tax evasion? Is, is that what you're doing?
To commit a crime.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we do know an individual that did that, and there's a lot of individuals
Yeah.
that do that, and
Yeah.
and that doesn't make it better. But I see what he's saying. What he's saying is, look, if you have to get by, get by. If you got
Yeah.
if you got to
Hustle.
make it happen. And yeah, uh, it's that same mentality that some people use to sell drugs or to do some sort of other criminal activity, and we can
Like
all
tax
judge each
evasion.
other's criminal activity and call it safe or okay, like tax evasion. But at the end of the day, that's not what Open Dharma say. Open Dharma is just saying, look, this is something that you emotionally have to understand, that you may be working longer hours. Here's the positive thing, and here's the one thing that is happening right now, Trinity, that I hope people that are not on a fixed government or retirement income, this is what they have in their back pocket. If you are working any kind of job right now, there's people that want to hire you. There's so many jobs available out there. If you ever wanted to renegotiate your work contract or renegotiate a movement, whether it be a lateral movement or upward mobility in another company or in your same company, this is your time to do it. Unfortunately, we as business owners are being held hostage on a regular basis right now. Now, I'm not saying go threaten your bosses that you need more money or want more money, but just you can ask if that's a possibility. The reason some of these costs are going up is because that's exactly what's happening. Employees are asking for more money because they can't come to work and pay their bills with the same amount of money we are paying them last pay period. So we've had to increase our rates. I know we did it at our office. I know we've done it in many other places. Yet, I can't do that with the insurance companies and the contracts that we have. So we as a business have to take in less to make sure that our employees are satisfied. It's just something that we're going to have to go through during this time period so that we can survive it through the other end. I'm asking you, if you're an employee out there, please understand that, we're all experiencing this. All employers, or most, I'm not going to say all, most employers are taking a hit as well. And some of it is being passed down to consumers, but some of it, they're eating it up. So these are just difficult times. I think, again, this is a time where your mental strength has to come out and just understand that this is a united front here. We're all not liking what's going on. None of us
Yeah.
like high gas prices. None of us like higher food costs. None of us like even the foods that you want to go get. The shelves are depleted. There's so many empty shelves
Yeah.
and less options on some of the shelves. None of us like that. I mean, put it this way: this is the first time I ever went to the dollar store, and the only reason I go for one item at the dollar store, I go for I never knew what the dollar store, and I'm not trying to be
Nobody
bougie, but
knows
maybe I
the
am a little bougie.
troubles I
But
face.
I went to, well, it's because I buy snacks for my dogs, right? That's how I trained all my dogs to be leashless, by giving them snacks. I give them snacks every time I take them out to the bathroom. I give them snacks. So I go through a lot of snacks. I got 3 dogs, big ones, and so I buy all those at the dollar store. Thank you, dollar store. I appreciate that.
Yeah, right on. I well, for me it goes back to like you said, financially you're bound by logistics
And
and earning potential, that kind of stuff. Um yeah, Marissa says, are things even a dollar at the dollar
and
store? I'm like,
that's
no,
no,
they're actually not.
no, they're
They're a
actually
dollar
a
and a
dollar
quarter.
25. It's a dollar
Yeah.
25 store. Yeah, dollar
I know
25
that because
cent
my
store.
wife is like a frequent, she's like a VIP there. She's got her own plaque on the wall. But anyways, so like I said, when it comes to the logistics of the finances, right? Like, you know, there's only so much you could do, right? What your capabilities are, what your earning potential is. There's manual labor that some people can do. There's other people have a skill set. Like you have to get creative and find ways of earning money. But obviously here at Dharma Time, we're going to go from the spiritual
Or spending less.
perspective. Yeah, or spend less. We got to do both. But from a spiritual perspective, um, no matter what your situation is, you can still have inner peace. I mean, there's people out there going through unimaginable situations who are still at peace, and the way they do that isn't because they're better or worse at anything. It's just they have a mindset, I think in these kinds of times, spirituality really is really important. Whatever your spirituality may be, you lean on that a little bit. Also, you find your outlet, like you find something that you can do that brings you a little bit of peace. For some people it's working out, for other people it's video games, for other people it's artistic stuff like drawing. Like you do have to find an outlet
Mhm.
somehow, some way. But most importantly, compassion, man. I think a lot of it boils down to the compassion for yourself and for those around you. Meaning, it's hard. It's hard right now. So if you're struggling a little bit and you're going through it, it doesn't say anything about you. It's just hard. Like you can't beat yourself up for struggling in a time where everybody is struggling. It's hard. Allow it to be hard. Allow
Right.
yourself to acknowledge it's hard. Yeah, it's hard, and that's okay. It's hard for everybody right now. And I think that once again, that compassion for yourself is going to go a long ways, and then extending that same compassion to those around you, meaning it's hard for them as well. And we're all struggling, and just give everybody just a little bit of patience, a little bit of compassion, um, and finding your outlet. I think if you could do those things, the financial stuff will take care of itself. If you were already living a lifestyle to where you can afford it and maintain it, you obviously have established that you're a survivor. You obviously established earning potential. Like so, you've already established you know how to do that. So that's going to kind of come naturally. And it's going to kind of take care of itself. What won't take care of itself is your mental well-being. That's the one where you're going to have to actually fill that cup a little bit. And like I said, you do that through, finding whatever your spirituality is. You do that through finding outlets and things of that nature to kind of like release the pressure just a little bit. Um, that's the important part.
The other thing is that and when I say spend less on this, I'm talking about, how it feels like sometimes businesses nickel and dime you, or your life just nickels and dimes you, like $5 here, $20 here. Maybe you don't have
30
any
cents for
large
sauce.
bills, but all the small bills added up. Yeah, all the small bills together just add up. They just do. They just add up.
Yeah.
We do that to ourselves sometimes too. We nickel and dime ourselves. Instead of going to Starbucks right now, which is kind of easier because some of them are closing. Thank you for closing Starbucks.
Are they
I
really?
didn't want my wife to go to you anyway. Well, the bigger city ones are. A lot of the bigger city ones are. I don't think the one here in New Smyrna Beach is going to close anytime soon, but I'm glad it's far enough that Dane doesn't go to it every day. Um, but there's little things like that you can do without just a little bit more. There's certain foods that maybe you haven't eaten in a while that are still just as good. I love Italian food, and let me tell you something. The good thing about Italian food is that pasta and red
Yeah.
sauce and things like that are relatively cheap. Mexican food homemade is relatively cheap.
That's
There's so
actually how those
many
all
little
started.
ethnic foods. Yeah, they're all relatively cheap because they do come from areas where people didn't have a lot.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of different food varieties like that. Yeah, you don't have to eat steak right now. Maybe fish is maybe the kind of fish that you buy, maybe it's not mahi time. Maybe it's more tilapia
No
time.
Wagyu beef
You
anymore.
know? Yeah, exactly. I mean, and those little things happen. And you'll be surprised of how much you could save on not nickel and diming yourself. Uh, just small little adjustments like that because other things are fixed. Like when I hear these stories of people saying, I can't even go to work because I can't pay for the money for gas. I guarantee you, if you went through an internal audit, I'll find the money for that gas within your lifestyle. The only thing is we don't audit ourselves. And if you don't believe me, it's because you're too close to it. You're not stepping back and you're not looking at it from an objective eye. And the reason I say that is because in business, it's like that. You can struggle in your company and be like, man, it's just not making money, or there's some business, and then you bring in an auditor, and an auditor will save you thousands. And they'll just look like here's where you're overspending. Here's this that you really don't need this. You could do it differently. And then next thing you realize, wow, this business is actually making money. It's just the way we were set up or spending. Um, our lives are like that too. Our personal lives are exactly like that too.
Yeah. Richard just commented, I'll eat ramen noodles first. Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with ramen noodles. Like, I actually dig them. Believe it or not, you know what I'm gonna have after the show, in between the two shows, is I'm gonna have myself a bologna sandwich. I haven't had that in I don't even know how many years. Um,
I
I think
love
this
fried
bologna.
bologna, man.
Yeah, well, I
Fried
introduced
bologna
my kids.
is so good.
Yeah, I introduced my kids to that. Like, I think it was last year when we were doing our. I don't know, maybe a year. It's all running together right now, but there was a time where I introduced it to them not too long ago, and they kind of liked it, but didn't. I don't know. They weren't fired up about it, but anyways, um, yeah, man. Like I said, I think for the work life balance, it, you know, it's so easy, man. It's easy to get caught up in it all. I get it. Um, but the most important thing is just kindness, man. I can't stress it enough, dude. I see so many people who are just unkind to themselves and other people, and when things around them are stressful, that unkindness goes even further down the toilet. It's like that's like the first thing that goes is whatever little bit of kindness you had, because it's like the whataboutism, like what about me? What about this? Like anytime it's like an instant competition. Whenever somebody's struggling, it's like, well, I'm doing this too. Even within like your own home, one person's struggling with something, then the other one wants to come in and be like, oh, well, I've got this too. It's like, dude, it's not a race. It's not a competition. Let's all just be kind a little bit. Um, like even in my own home,
Mhm.
I've seen opportunities for that to happen. Thankfully, I'm skillful enough where I haven't, taken on those, instances. But like my wife and I are both suffering from COVID right now. And we can sit here and try to figure
Yeah.
out whose temperature is higher than the other or who's got worse symptoms. And I'm not trying to tell my wife. I don't feel like I've even told my wife at all about any of my symptoms. I've been more concerned with
Yeah.
hers. She could see it. She knows that I'm struggling with stuff as well, but I don't need to sit there and try to like belittle hers to remind her of mine. No, I'm all about asking her how she's doing. You know, and of course she's doing the same. She's more worried about my symptoms than her own. And that selflessness helps. And we can see the love between us. We're being kind, as opposed to me
Mhm.
feeling like she's not validating how bad I'm feeling, or I'm not. That's an easy thing to get caught up in, but thankfully we're not doing that. But I could totally see how people would do that. I could totally see how people would be so focused on wanting to get validation about how they're struggling with something that they belittle, maybe inadvertently belittle the struggles of those around them, just in an effort to feel validated. Thankfully we're not doing that, but um go ahead.
No, I was just thinking about the other thing that doesn't let the life work balance feel calm is worry. Worry doesn't allow you to rest during your rest time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you know, so you're trying to rest, but you can't really rest. Like one of my issues that where the anxiety in my life still does exist, even though I've dealt with it very well, and I'm a lot more calm, and it's not crippling to me. Is as soon as I wake up in the morning, my brain starts going. So once that happens, there's really no way out of it. Like I'm not going back to sleep. But I found something that works, because I always do, right? I'm always look for solutions.
right.
My back to rest thing is watching black and white television, Perry Mason, Rawhide, these
Wow, you are
old
so old.
shows. Yeah, well, they help. No, black and white television is very calming to me, is very relaxing to me. And I can sit there and watch an episode or two and then preferably try to close my eyes again and maybe get another 15 minutes or 30 minutes. It's somewhere down the road. What I'm saying is that you search and try to find what's
Yeah,
calming. In other words, if I would just stick to, like, some of us like a certain kind of music, so you listen to that music all the time. You like a certain kind of television, so you always
sure.
watch that television. But I've utilized music and television or movies therapeutically, meaning I watch where I want to go. I listen to how I want to feel. So that's what I'm suggesting, is what I'm saying. In other words, if you're not feeling like you're getting a lot of relaxation, some people just turn off TV, turn off social media. I don't turn it off. I just put it on something completely different
Right.
that has a totally different response. it makes me, and like I said, black and white television does that to me. Something about the black and white television puts me I'm not thinking about today. I'm not thinking about my bills. I'm not thinking about my life. I'm not thinking about my kids. I'm not thinking about my wife. I'm not thinking about what I have to do later that day. I start going like, wow, I wonder if that actor's still alive today. And I start looking up actors' names on the phone. I go completely somewhere different that I've
Right.
found that I actually relax. You know what I mean? I love watching old Clint Eastwood stuff. I'm sorry, or old Perry Mason. I still can't believe that's Raymond Burr. I
Right.
didn't know Raymond Burr looked like that. You know what I mean? And then there's so
That's
many
funny.
actors that they're on all the shows. So no matter what old show you watch in black and white, it's the same actors that are on all of them. Because back then they used to just sign you up, like MGM would just sign you up and they'd put you on all their stuff. CBS would sign you up and they put you on
Right.
all their stuff. So what I'm saying is find things that allow you to escape maybe some of the thoughts and feelings that you're having if you
Yeah.
don't have the skill set to do it some of these other ways. Use the same technology that you use to escape from your life now, but maybe use something that's a little bit more soothing to you rather than provoking. Like, maybe the morning is not where you want to start watching CNN and Fox News and start getting into political thoughts. If that's bothering you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Black and white television is not geared politically. It just isn't.
Yeah. Well, the thing I've noticed for myself, even right, like uh, first and foremost, like I look at every like entity somewhat separate, right? So, other words, I have to obviously I have the same anxieties and worries everybody does with finances and whatnot. But like I have a marriage, and
Right.
that requires time. Like I actually have to devote some time to my marriage and like making sure I tend to her and making sure we're good.
Right.
But then I don't forget about me. Like I have my own, energy and health that I need to worry about. For me, I don't do the black and white movie thing as much. Although I'm sure there's some I would get into. I really like that one with
Yeah.
Audrey Hepburn back in the day. I think it's on Golden Pond. I really like that one. Um, there was another one too.
I do more shows than movies, like Twilight Zones and stuff like that.
Right. Well, no, there was a movie. I can't remember the one where she's in Rome. Audrey Hepburn. I think it's Gregory Peck, and I can't remember what it is. Anyways, whatever. I digress. Um, But for me, the one that really works for me, and I think you've dabbled in it. I've seen you on is gaming. Gaming is one of the weird things that for me, I can literally just turn my mind off. Like in those moments, there's a social aspect because I have friends that I can go to a party and you just kind of shooting the shit a little bit and talking. But I can literally
Right.
just turn my brain off. I'm
Mhm.
not worried about bills. I'm not worried about anything. Like for that moment, I'm just kind of like zoned in on whatever
Mhm.
goal I'm trying to achieve on it. It enables me to turn. So for me, at the moment, that's what I'm able to do. So that's what I do. But then, like I said, I balance that with making sure I tend to my relationship. Like and tending to my relationship time sometimes is just as simple as I'll walk over and just give her a kiss on her forehead to let her know I'm thinking about her, or we'll watch a show together. Like whatever I know she's into or I'm into.
Aw.
I know I'm a big softie. Um, but we'll watch the show together. Like or we'll avoid certain topics right now. Like if there's a lot of political stuff, like you said, maybe we just won't talk about those things. Like it's not 100% necessary for us to know how each other feels about the recent Roe v. Wade thing. Like why? Like it's not going to affect our marriage at all. So it's things like that. I guess being more deliberate, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Is I'm more deliberate in the things that I'm trying to get through my day. Like I'm cognizantly aware of, hey, let me spend some time with my wife. Hey, let me take some moments to myself. Hey, we're both kind of dealing right now with cabin fever of like we're antsy because we're kind of like stuck in here. Like I'm just more deliberate in everything that I
Mm.
do, I guess.
Right. Right. And I think those are all good things. And I'm glad you brought up. Uh, if you're in a relationship, you got to tend to it, but you got to take care of you first. To me, I look at it like that oxygen mask in the airplane. I say it all
Yeah.
the time. Every time I'm on an airplane and they talk about that, I think about looking over to Dana and says, that means you're gonna die and I'm gonna live. So because I'm putting on this mask first. Just want to let you
Unless
know
she
that.
puts it on herself as well.
I might take her mask too, bro. I don't know, man. I like two of things
You're
sometimes.
gonna be that one panicking. I need mask everywhere.
Nah, I'm messing with you. What I'm saying is, This is also a time to try to laugh more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever makes you laugh a little bit more and enjoy yourself a little bit more. In times of financial struggle like this, you don't want to get caught up in getting in the other kinds of heated arguments. Uh, it's also hot out there right now. You know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
the whole country's going through this heat wave, and like we saw at Disney the other day. Was it Disney or was it Magic King? Wait, what was it? What was the big fight? The two families that just got in this big old fight in the line the
Oh,
other day,
jeez.
and it was at one of the Disney properties, and they just went at each other, man. And it's horrible. And it's like, listen, everybody, we're spending way too much money or more than we want to spend, and we're not saving a lot. Everybody's got some sort of an opinion on how the world is going, where it's going, how it's going. We just need to do a temperature check. And you got to start with yourself. You
Yeah.
got to do a temperature check on yourself. Am I okay? What's going on with me? Instead of just trying to make sure that everybody's agreeing with you or liking you or liking what you have to say right now. I'll give you help on that. No, I don't currently need to like you, and I don't need to listen to you, and I don't need to worry about what you're doing right now. You need to do that for yourself right now. I'm sure you're a good person. I'm sure you're a nice person. I'm sure if we were face to face, we were talking, I would like you, but I don't need to like you if I don't know you, and I don't need to be hearing what you got to say right now. If I don't want you to feel the same way about me. Take the same liberty towards me. You don't have to like me right now. You don't have to listen to me right now. You don't have to worry about me right now.
Well, they should
There's a
listen
lot more
to us.
important things going on for yourself. Yeah, yeah, you can.
They should listen
But there's a
to us
lot
on
more
a
important things
podcast.
that you got to take care of for yourself right now. Yeah, go like it and subscribe and all that stuff. But I'm just saying, man, I just want you to be well. I just want you to be well. Without you being
Yeah.
well, there is no future. There is no tomorrow. And maybe the way you're going to give yourself a stroke, a heart attack, high blood pressure, ulcers, and all that stuff. And you can't blame government. You can't blame family. You can't blame the world. It's strategies, personal strategies on how to maintain that calm and balance. And that's why thinking spirituality, focusing on your spirituality, whatever it may be, call it philosophy, whatever it may be, um, working more on that right now than maybe ever.
Yeah, I mean, and I can relate, dude. Like, there was a time in my life, man, where I was motivated, but like the only thing that motivated me was the almighty dollar. Like, there was a time in my life where
Mhm.
that was it. Every goal that I had, every aspiration, every dream revolved around money, right? Like, there was a time in my life where all I pictured as far as success and happiness was, big houses, expensive cars, and like just overflowing cash. Um, and it wasn't until I found spirituality where I changed that a little bit. And I started realizing that's so much more important to me
Yeah.
now to be happy. Like, to me, that's where I get my
Yeah.
fulfillment. I get my fulfillment through other things. I no longer need those financial or monetary rewards to give me my value or my fulfillment. Um, Not to say that there's
Mm.
necessarily anything wrong with that if you're one of those people that is how you measure success. The problem is when it becomes the only thing, when it
Hmm.
becomes so unmanageable to where like that's
Right.
that's it, that's what you focus on, then that's the problem, right? And I know
Right.
for me that used to be the problem. That's not to say that I don't still enjoy, some money. If anybody wants to send some, by all means. But that's no longer like where I get my self-esteem. That's no longer where I get my value. That's no longer where I get my fulfillment. I get that now through, well, like for instance, it's the little things, right? I think it was yesterday. So for those of you who follow me on social media, you'll know that I do a daily dad joke. And, sometimes, admittedly, sometimes the jokes are better than others. I really like yesterday's joke, by the way.
Hmm.
It was what does Kevin Bacon call his nipples? Bacon bits. I thought that was funny. But anyways, so I put those daily dad jokes out there, and I started it as as a way to like break the ice a little bit, right? Because I saw so much anger and vitriol
Right.
that I wanted to be able to give
Mhm.
people, and just something to laugh at, man. Just some stupid, cheesy,
Yeah.
oh, that's haha, that's funny,
Yeah.
and it's worked. If you
Yeah.
knew how many people reach out to me to tell me that they like them or whatever, it was mind boggling. I did not realize there was that many people that were watching it because they don't all comment or all like
Mhm.
it, but they read it.
Right.
And yesterday, I got
Right.
a message from somebody who's on my friends list. One of those people on your friends list that I've never met this person. I don't really know who they
Mhm.
are, but somehow we're
Mhm.
friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
They made a comment to me yesterday. Excuse me. Hold on. There we go. Sorry, I still have COVID. So,
Mhm.
anyways, so she made a comment yesterday about how she was just having a really bad day. Things were hard. And she was scrolling and saw my joke and it made her laugh and like turned her whole day around. And she's like, and she told me, thank you. I don't know how we've gotten connected, but I appreciate it and keep doing what you're doing. Like, that was really cool. Like, that was a good,
Right.
those types of things is where I get my fulfillment
Right.
now. Once again, that's not to say that I wouldn't feel great if I got a random check in the mail, but
Right.
I don't rely on that. Like that, knowing that there's somebody out there who was just not having a great day that saw something that I was able to contribute to that made them their day a little bit better. It's like, oh, okay, good. I'm making an impact somehow.
Right.
Um, it's those kinds of things, right? So it's finding fulfillment in other things. If you're the problem with finding your fulfillment and your value through money, it's not sustainable. You're going
Right.
to go through moments where you're not going to make because you're still dependent on other people. You're dependent on somebody else to give you that money, be it an employer, be it whomever, or customers. Somehow, some way, you're relying upon other people's actions to make you happy, and so that's not sustainable.
Right.
It has to come from within. It has to be your mindset. It has to be the way you approach and where you find your fulfillment from. And so I think right now is a great opportunity for people to maybe take an assessment, step back for a minute and really look at the life you've built for yourself.
Mhm.
Are you happy with it? Are there some things you want to change? The For me, once again, there was a time in my life when I was working at the postal service. It was a government job, and I was dabbling in a bunch of other things to try to make ends meet and make financial windfalls for myself. But when I started really digging into spirituality, I had to take a step back, and I realized that like all this chasing money and all this stuff, like is it really bringing me happiness? And I was like, no, it's really not. I was fighting so hard to keep and maintain a life that I didn't really want. And I guarantee there's at least one or
Hmm.
two other people listening to this right now who if you take a step back, you'll realize that you're fighting so hard to keep a life that you don't really like. And I think that's human nature, right? We get into something and we just try to maintain the status quo. But how often do we really take a step back and say, do I really like it? And maybe you do, and maybe you just need to
Don't make
adjust.
somebody go
Maybe,
get divorced now. Don't make,
yeah, right. Well, I just because it was a weird moment for me, right? It was a weird moment when I realized that I was
Right.
going because at the time there was a lot of vitriol and BS between myself and like management. We were going back and forth. Uh, it was a struggle, dude, every day to get up and go into that place. Like it was just rough. And then I was like, dude, why? Like I had
Okay.
to have that moment of compassion for myself. They're like, why am I fighting so hard to keep this when I don't really like it in the first place? And so then I
Right.
had to have compassion for myself and say, you know what? I'm gonna take myself out of this. I'm gonna find a different way. If I'm gonna struggle, at least I can struggle with something that's gonna give me fulfillment. And that was the right decision for me. Doesn't mean it's
Right.
necessarily the right decision for everybody else. But I think that right now is a great time for us to reflect on that and realize, okay, like what are we doing? Are you okay with it? Like you don't have to be on whatever path that you're on. You can change it. And for some people, that's a complete change. And for
Right.
other people, it's a slight tweak. Like maybe you need to change where you put your time, where you put your energy. Like you said, maybe you need to find out what brings you your fulfillment, what brings you your peace. Like we've been coasting for so long. When things are really good, it's easy to coast. It's like the team that wins every game that they play. Well, they never really have to take an assessment. Maybe they got a glaring weakness that nobody's been able to exploit yet, but you'll never know it because you're winning. But when you go and you lose, that's when you have to take a step back and be like, okay, well, wait a minute now. Like, oh, I didn't even realize that we were, struggling in this area. And so right now we're all collectively taking kind of a loss right now. Like it's just rough, it's struggling. So now is a great time to step back and say, okay, like I'm being tested right now.
Yeah.
Where are my weaknesses? What areas should I improve a little bit on? And for some of you, it might be your work-life balance. It might be like, man, you know what? I'm really putting too much thought and effort into this making a living as opposed to living a life. And for some of you, maybe you're not making enough money. For some of you, you need to readdress, like, hey, I've been coasting a little too long. Who knows? But I think right now is a great time to do that.
Well, I also think it's a good time for Richard to Venmo you some money. so that
Hey, by all
he can
means, Richard, go
practice
for it.
his refusal to have an attachment to his money. So
Yeah.
I like that. I'm gonna find fulfillment in a second by taking a bite of this thing. This thing's sitting
Wow.
here glaring at
You
me.
just triggered like
Isn't
so
that
many
good?
people. For those of you who are not
Isn't that
watching
good?
live, if you're just listening to the podcast on any of your
Mm,
major podcast platforms, mind you,
mm.
you missed the visual of the dope doctor over here pulling out what looked to be an amazing chocolate chip cookie. By the way,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at
I'm
that.
like, I'm.
Look at that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Look at
That
that.
actually does look really good. By the way,
It is so good, man. I got it at the conference, and
nice,
that
dude.
was
I haven't left
at
my
the Hyatt
house
Region.
like
Thanks to
since.
everybody for the Hyatt Regency Grand Cypress. By the way, very very cool.
Dude, I haven't left my house in like since the 9th. So like I haven't had any of those like little treats and stuff. I've had like whatever we can find here in the house. That looked phenomenal, by the way.
I don't like that. I don't like when I have to scrounge around the house for what I have to eat, because the only time I can remember doing that as a kid is like whenever they wanted like donated foods at the school, and you would find things like yams, like all the the canned cranberries and yams and cans that
Wow.
that you don't care about. But I never took the good stuff. Like I would never take like Spam or mac and cheese to school to donate. I only donated like yams and stuff like that.
That's funny.
I wasn't a good donator.
Yeah, I
It's
used to
like
always have
it's like
those I had those moments towards the end of so my mom when I was a kid, as with everybody, you have a pay period, right? Like every 2 weeks you get a check. And so so every time she would get paid, we would go to the grocery store and we buy a whole bunch of stuff. And me
Mhm.
being the overzealous kid that I was, and a little like a horse that I was eating everything, I would just eat like all the good stuff within the first few days. And so towards the end, the pay period, that's when I would have to start scrounging and getting real creative with things
Yeah.
until the following payday.
You know what it's like? It's like the difference between Halloween back in the 70s and 80s compared to Halloween now. Back in the 70s and 80s, you bought Halloween candy that you gave away. There's so cheap candy. That's why there was so much candy corn. You know why you don't find a lot of candy corn in Halloween anymore? Because now there's very few kids. So all your Halloween candy, you get to keep it and eat it yourself. So now
Yeah.
you buy Snickers and Blow
Yeah.
Pops and stuff that you actually care about.
Bro, hold on, man. Like you just touched something there. I remember when I was a kid, right? So I would go out, and this was like in the late 80s, early 90s. I would go out with pillowcases
Yeah.
and just get so much candy, right?
Yeah.
And I would come back and dump it out.
Yes.
And I'd say at least half of it I wanted nothing to do with. Like Peeps and candy corn and just nasty stuff. I took my kids
Ridiculous
up
candy.
when my
Yep.
kids were younger. Like I would take them out, dude. There was homes giving like whole Snickers bars. Like, bro, where were you at when I was a kid? That would have been my
No, it's
head
because they didn't
would have
expect.
literally
No, it's because they don't.
exploded.
Absolutely.
Dude.
No,
If
it's
I would have
'cause
gone to
kids
somebody's house and
aren't
they
supposed to come
dropped,
around anymore.
if I if I went to somebody's house and they dropped an entire full size Snickers bar into my little pillowcase, my head would have literally exploded.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, you go into the right neighborhoods, man. You'll get a hot dog. You'll get a bottle of water. You get a whole Snickers. You
Yeah.
get a slice of pizza. It's like some of these neighborhoods Halloween. It's like, yeah, I agree with you. I had too many Tootsie Rolls and too much candy corn.
Yeah, man. I took my kids one time. So there's a neighborhood we know that is more affluent than ours. So I took my kids in there one time, bro. They were giving them like toys, like little box, like Lego sets and stuff. I was like, what the hell? It was
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Yeah, pretty soon it's going to be your kids are going to go around. They're just going to have like an app on their phone. They just scan it, and you just get like crypto from people.
Yeah.
Speaking of Venmo, can you just Venmo me something?
Yeah.
Trick or treat.
You don't even
Thank
trick or
you.
treat anymore. You just send like a drone out with a bag. Just
There'll
put
be
it
a
in the
dude
bag.
there'll be a dude doing an Apple Pay thing on you, man. Bing, bing,
Yeah.
bing, just giving it to you.
That's
Anyway,
funny.
yeah, I mean, look, work-life balance is you got to laugh, just got to enjoy it. Don't take yourself so damn serious. Don't take the world so serious.
Yeah.
You can't really escape a lot of it right now because there's just so much going on that people want to get you emotionally attached to and emotionally invested in certain conversations and certain emotions and feelings, just don't be a part of it, man. Choose not to play the game, at least for a few hours. I'm not saying, completely detach, because that's probably not the healthiest thing for you either. But just give yourself time and breaks. Um, and I know times are tough. And look, like you said earlier, it's tough for everybody in different ways. Different ways. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
compare everybody's to yours that's probably listening and watching, and you're facing a foreclosure. I'm not trying to pretend that I know how you're feeling right now in that foreclosure. But what I am going to say to you is that everything in life has been temporary. There's been very little that you've ever experienced that's been permanent. And I know it's tough for you, and I feel for you right now. But I know that you do have the ability and the strength and the wherewithal and the intelligence to get out of the situation. How do I know that? Because you found this show. You found out how to use an app, or you found out how to find us on a podcast, or you found out how to find us on social media. That means you have some ability to navigate. And if you have some ability to navigate, then you multiply that and you navigate through this issue. You can do it. Um, you can build up that energy. And you know what? If you're getting too tired and you feel like, man, I'm not getting any rest, I'm working 2 jobs, I have to give time to my family, I got to be there for my wife, and I'm still exhausted, I'm not doing any time for myself. Well, then you know what? You have to do time for yourself. There's no way out of this situation. You have to give time to yourself, or else you are going to pop. And we can't tell that for you because we don't know your situations. We don't know what you have in front of you. I don't know if you just have like a place right in front of your house where you could just walk for 10 minutes. I don't know what you have access to, but I can tell you have a floor. I know there's somewhere you can lay down, and I know there's a place for you to walk. And those are the most basic things that you can have. You can breathe air. You can do that almost anywhere. I mean, maybe yoga sounds foreign and meditation sounds foreign, but it's not. Those things are good because you could do those anywhere. So maybe next time times are good, you can remember this time that you're going through this right now and prepare for that. The reason our grandparents, at least, and our parents are so good at navigating through these situations is because they come from generations where they went through some serious hardships. Like the Greater Depression people,
Yeah.
they know how to get through this like champs. This is nothing to them. Because they've been through it once, they are completely prepared for the next time. They will never let it happen to them again. So if you're experiencing a time right now where you're going, wow, it's so difficult right now, this is life lesson. Start writing down things that you know that you can do differently next time things are on an upswing, so that you will never have to feel the kind of pain that you're experiencing right now. Again, this is a learning time. This is not a horrible time. This is an educational period of time. And just like school to me sucked, yeah, but school prepared me for a lot of things later in life that suck less because I had that school.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. And then I've got one more little anecdote before I get some final
Right
thoughts
on.
and wrap this up. One
Good.
other thing,
So I'll take a bite.
this is going to shock a lot of people who know me personally, but hey, it is what it is. It happened. So I was on my Facebook. I posted my positive COVID test. I was just saying, hey, this sucks or whatever. And there was a lot of outpouring of support and stuff. And for those of you who commented, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was nice to read. But there was a couple of people on there who mentioned something that it really when I first read it, I was like, oh hell no. But then I got desperate, man. Like I was getting cabin fever. I was feeling some kind of way, and I read. I was like, let me give it a shot, and it actually worked. So somebody said that they went outside and they just like the sunshine helped them feel like the COVID was leaving their body or whatever. So I went outside, and one of the times when I was walking my dog, I went outside and I have like these like patio furniture in my backyard, and like there's no shade whatsoever in my back. It's literally just sun beaming down. Mind you, I'm like feverish this whole time. But I did, man. I went outside and I just sat because I've done that frequently. I usually do it in the winter months because I like to just sit, just be in nature for a minute. Usually not so much in the heat because once again, for those of you who know me, I detest the heat. I am not built for it. I hate it. I don't like it at all. But I did it anyways. I went. I gotta admit, man, it was very nice. It was very soothing. I literally, it did feel like the COVID was being like baked out of my body somehow. I just literally just sat in the sun for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But just that little bit of time, I felt like recharged. I felt refreshed. because sunlight does help. There are people out there who suffer from like depression because they don't get enough sunlight. I know a couple
Mm-hmm.
people personally who have. That's how I learned what a sun lamp is a lamp that mimics the sun essentially.
Right.
But we do need vitamin D in our lives. We do need sun, like that. It is the giver of life.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
being cooped up in here for so long, that was part of the problem. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is self-care sometimes is just as simple as walking out and sitting in the sun for a few minutes. It might not seem like anything, but self-care takes on many different forms. um, I agree with him earlier. One of the biggest forms of self care that has been in my life for as long as I can remember, and I sincerely hope that I never lose it, is humor. Being able to laugh, dude, that is one of the most important self care things I've learned over the years. Is just being able to laugh, finding humor in things. I cannot tell. It's so hard to be angry and pissed off and stressed out when you're laughing. It just those two thoughts just can't occupy the
Right.
same space at the same time. And so I love humor. I love trying to find things that are funny. Even stuff that isn't funny, I try to find humor in just because life sucks sometimes and you got to laugh. So I agree. When it comes to work life balance, uh, um, obviously the logistic things. Try to find a way to cut your expenses when you can. Try to find ways of making more money when you can. We all have a skill set. We all have little things that are about us that are unique that we can potentially monetize somehow, some way. Maybe open an Etsy store. Maybe I don't know, open a device, a column or something. Who knows? We all have something. But more importantly, mental health, man. Take a step, love yourself, show yourself some compassion, be compassionate to those and kind to those around you, and we'll make it through it. We will, man. This isn't the first. This is the first rodeo we've all been through. We might not remember them, but we've all been in a moment in our lives where we thought that this was so bad it was never going to end, and it did. You know, because we made it through the other side.
Mhm.
We might not remember it. We look back and we can't remember how bad we felt at that moment, but we've all had them, and this is no different. This is going to suck for a while. We're going to be tested, and it's up to us to kind of persevere and get through that. So that's all I got. Is that you? Anything else you want to add before we cut this short?
I think it's funny that you did that because I think I told you years ago that my wife taught me that because I would always look at Dana and Dana would always go out in the sun and just do this. She does
Yeah,
it to this day. She just goes out there and just looks up at the, like she closes her eyes and just like she's a flower, and
right.
just sits there and she loves it. So man, how come that doesn't make me the same way? It doesn't make me feel the same way
Yes.
it makes her feel. But I've learned how to accept it that way, and now I
Right.
know exactly the feeling that she's experiencing. I feel like it's a hug, like a big warm hug when you do it, but, like, I can't do it as long as her. Like, to me, I agree
No.
with you. A couple
Like,
minutes feels like 30
yes.
minutes, but it feels so good for that little bit of it, and then that's it. And then
Yeah.
it's amazing what something like that can do. Sensory therapy is important. You have five senses, utilize them all, and you let every single one of your five senses talk to you. And if one of your senses is not doing well, like right now, maybe your sense of taste and smell aren't as good as they normally have been, Trinity, but all your other senses can get
Bro.
wide awake and be utilized. What?
That is the craziest. Like, my head could not wrap around the fact that I can't smell anything. I haven't lost my sense of taste, but the smell, like, that's the freakiest thing on the planet, man. Like, so I used to work with a dude who was in the Navy, and he was in a fire in the sub,
And he
and
smelled?
somehow that made him lose his sense of smell. I don't know how that logistics of that worked, but I worked with this dude for years, and I could never wrap my head around the fact because there was things that would come through, and he just couldn't smell it. Um, and so my son, we bought him a beta fish not too long ago for his birthday. And so when he's not here, obviously, I take over the duties of feeding it. And there's these little pellets. And when you open it, they reek of like fishy smell. Um, and you can literally smell it from like from like 5 feet away. It's like Jesus. Um, but when I was feeding them, I could literally put it in my nose and just take the biggest whip and smell zero, nothing. That was the craziest thing, dude. Like I my brain just can't wrap itself around the fact that like I know this stinks, I'm smelling, but I can smell
Yeah.
nothing. It's I heard people talking about it when they were with COVID, and I never like understood what they
Right.
meant. I thought they meant like, oh, you're just stuffy. Like, no, you just cannot smell. It's the craziest thing. So it's weird. Anyways, all right. Well,
And to be honest with you, I was cool with it, Trinity, because there's a lot of stinky
yeah,
situations out in the.
yes, I
I
agree.
was cool with that part of it, but yeah, tell everybody what we got coming up. After a little 5-minute break or so.
Yeah. I'm gonna go grab a sandwich real quick, and you're gonna go have another cookie, I'm sure. But for those of you who are watching this live, if you want to keep the party going, you give us like 5 or 10 minutes. Let us go do some things. We're gonna come back and we're gonna do our political show, We the Middle. So obviously this was Dharma Time, where we talk about spiritual stuff and just life, being happy, that kind of stuff. We're going to cut this broadcast. We'll come back in about 5-10 minutes, and we'll do the political show, We the Middle, covering the political topics of the day. And I'm sure it'll be great. So
Yeah,
there's lots to talk about.
we know we're going to talk about. Well, I'm definitely going to talk about Biden having COVID. Definitely going to talk about the hearings, the prime time insurrection hearings, and more. We'll flip back and forth between CNN and Fox to see what they're talking about, and then we'll be right there. We the middle. So look forward to seeing you guys on the other side of this. You go ahead and sign us out, Trinity, and we'll talk to you all later.
All right, everybody. Appreciate it. Once again, make sure you follow us, like us, subscribe, that kind of stuff. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch. And of course, any of your podcasting platforms will be there as well. So, anyways, we'll see you hopefully, guys, in like 10 minutes or so. And we'll be back. Peace.